If you want to have a league that makes money and pays you millions of dollars, come over here to the XX League. Why will they listen? I've already told you, they need leverage in their collective bargaining agreement negotiation. These women already, half the WNBA right now is overseas playing in some foreign league right now because they don't make enough money during the WNBA season.
If someone walked into women's basketball today and said, if you want a league that actually pays millions, come to the XX League, would anyone listen, or would it be dismissed as noise? The uncomfortable truth is that leverage shapes pay, and right now most players don't have enough of it during the off-season, which is exactly why so many pack their bags for foreign clubs the minute the W season ends, chasing contracts that bridge the gap their domestic salaries don't cover. Average W deals sit in the low six figures and top out around the mid-200s, a world away from the money in men's basketball, and a signal that the business model still hasn't fully translated surging audience interest into player compensation at scale. That's the tension rattling around the sport as the fever reset for the off-season, and the finals spotlight burns elsewhere. The audience is growing, the conversation is booming, and yet the players most responsible for that growth are still hunting stability across two continents. Enter a provocation that refuses to go away. Build a rival league on U.S. soil, market it around the biggest draws, make the economics simple and transparent, and force the incumbents to meet the moment or get left behind. It's a brash idea, and yes, it's controversial. But it touches a nerve because the status quo still pushes stars overseas when the domestic product should be strong enough to keep them home. The pitch is simple. If half the league is already playing in rival environments abroad, why not anchor the rivalry here and put every dollar, every camera, and every charter seat in the same time zone as the fans who've been tuning in record numbers? That's where the speculation around Caitlin Clark gets loud, and it's easy to see why. She's the kind of ratings magnet who moves casuals into diehards, adds zeros to media rights talks, and gives any startup instant legitimacy with one signature. The attendance spikes, the broadcast bumps, the sold-out road dates. None of it guarantees a new league would print money, but it proves demand exists when the marketing is sharp and the product feels like an event every night. Critics say the W hasn't maximized that momentum, leaving room for bolder operators to package star-driven schedules, local storytelling, and a cleaner calendar that doesn't force fans to choose between women's hoops and crowded summer sports windows week after week. Supporters of the rival league idea talk about flipping the incentive structure, player equity in the league itself, revenue share that rises with growth, and minimums that replace the scramble to sign winter deals overseas. Skeptics counter that media rights are the true backbone, and any upstart must solve distribution on day one. Linear windows that matter, streaming placement that surfaces content, and shoulder programming that turns personalities into household names, not just highlights into social clips. That's the crux. Can a challenger secure enough guaranteed revenue in year one to pay more than today's caps while absorbing startup burn, and still fund travel, medical, and marketing at a standard fans will accept? Calendar choice is everything, and it dictates tone from the first tip. A summer head-to-head makes for dramatic television and direct comparisons, but it splits the audience and risks fragmenting sponsors already committed elsewhere. A fall-through spring schedule avoids the collision, keeps stars domestic when they'd normally head overseas, and opens weekend primetime lanes that don't fight baseball pennants or mid-summer lulls. But it also faces the behemoth of football and college hoops, a risk mitigated only if the storytelling is relentless and the distribution is locked. The format serves the calendar. Fewer teams, deeper rosters per club to keep nightly star power high, a balanced slate that stacks rivalry nights, and a national game of the week appointment that trains viewers where to find the show every time. Then come the table stakes players now demand. Guaranteed charter flights to eliminate the two-league fatigue, local housing stipends that remove the churn of short leases, childcare support that treats athletes like adults with lives, and medical standards that match the modern sports science era fans expect. On compensation, a transparent cap tied to revenue from day one with a floor that forces spending, plus a runway of escalators baked into media renewals, gives athletes line of sight to real upside instead of vague promises about growth later. Pair that with postseason pools that actually move the needle, and league-wide NIL-style activations that pay for community appearances, and the year-round math finally starts to add up without a passport stamp every fall. None of that writes itself without money, which is why the most debated thread is outside capital. Who funds the launch and what strings come attached? There's chatter that sovereign funds, including those tied to Saudi Arabia that have reshaped golf and soccer, could bankroll a women's basketball challenger, and it's easy to see the logic. Buy attention, buy stars, Buy time to find a rights deal that sticks, but that's where the conversation must stay precise. Rumors suggest deep-pocketed backers are interested in properties with clear audience momentum, not blank check experiments, and women's hoops has momentum to spare when packaged around undeniable names. Reports claim investors look for a clear path to distribution, a plausible 5-year PL to break even, and a governance model that won't implode when the first CBA fight arrives, which is why player equity and independent board oversight get floated as trust builders from day one. The flip side is reputational risk. Fans care where the money comes from, and the wrong headlines can rot brand affinity before tip-off, which means any foreign funding storyline must be handled with transparency and standards that don't read like sports washing 101. That's also why some executives whisper about a hybrid cap table. Media partners with skin in the game, traditional sports owners who already operate arenas, and a player trust that can't be diluted without a supermajority vote. Structures designed to keep the league from getting flipped like a quick tech exit. Amid all of this, a separate idea is already real, an off-season 3-on-3 concept led by elite players aiming to boost incomes without leaving the country. Running a smaller footprint and a shorter slate that fits between commitments. It's smart and overdue, but even supporters concede it won't fix the central problem of full-season pay, travel, and medical standards that align with the audience growth curve. It's a bridge, not a replacement for a full league. If a new 5-on-5 league wants to matter, it has to do more than exist. It has to feel bigger from night one. And that means fewer dead nights on the calendar, aggressive shoulder content, and marketing that turns every road trip for a headliner into a local event with ticket scarcity and social heat. The names that trend, Clark, Reese, the next cohort of college phenoms, are proof that individual brands can move markets, but only a system that protects player energy will keep those brands available to fans every week without the wear of dual league seasons. None of this should be mistaken as a guarantee that stars would walk. Union negotiations are live, caps are climbing, and the W has real momentum with expansion and rising valuations that could deliver a better deal without fragmentation if the revenue share finally matches audience growth. But as long as salaries hover in the low 6 figures with a hard ceiling just under the mid-250s, the idea of an alternative with equity upside will stay in the air, because it's offering what many professionals really want: certainty at home and a ceiling that moves with the crowd they attract. Here's the clean version of the rival league blueprint people keep sketching on whiteboards. Launch with 6 to 8 clubs in basketball-first cities that already pack women's games. Lock a 3-year media partnership with 1 weekly broadcast window and a shoulder doc series. Guarantee charter flights and top-tier medical. Tie the cap to a published revenue share with a minimum spend floor. Build a player equity pool that vests over seasons and deep playoff runs. And set appearance-based marketing bonuses that reward the stars who actually fill buildings and move merch. Slot the schedule from November to March with intentional pauses during the biggest football weekends. Treat every Friday as appointment night. And run a rotating rivalry showcase with flexible game of the week placement that networks can promote in prime sports shoulder real estate. Keep rosters deep enough to ensure 2 headliners per team. Expand slowly so dilution never hits. And let the postseason feel like a month-long festival with neutral site semifinals in destination arenas that turn into ticket magnets. Most importantly, keep the language clean. No overpromising, no guaranteed millions on day one. Just a credible path where the best can earn more at home. The middle class can stop living on flight apps, and the rookies can see a career ladder that doesn't require winter miles halfway around the world. Rumors suggest deep capital will line up for a plan that disciplined. Allegations that certain backers would demand full control can be met with governance protections that keep the league's soul intact, while still unlocking the checks needed to compete now, not years from now. If that sounds like a heavy lift, it is. But the audience is already here, and nothing builds leverage faster than giving fans a rhythm, a window, and a reason to come back next week with friends in tow. So would Caitlin Clark actually lead it? No one outside her circle knows, and anyone claiming certainty is selling hype, not facts. But the door stays cracked because the numbers keep improving while the pay lags behind. And that gap always invites bold pitches from people who believe the market is underpriced. What's undeniable is that stars create leverage wherever they play. And leverage, used smartly, can fix the system from within or power a challenger from scratch, which is why this conversation isn't going away after this offseason or the next. If this sparked a thought, drop it in the comments and call out one change that would keep the best players at home year-round. Then tap like, subscribe, and hit the bell so the next deep dive lands right on time, because the story of women's basketball just got a new chapter, and the ending is up for grabs.